$16,000, my mother said, as if she were telling me the price of groceries. Your sister needed a vacation. I stood in the employee parking lot behind the hotel with my phone pressed against my ear, staring at the empty space where my car had been that morning. My space. My car. My keys were still in my pocket. For a few seconds, I honestly thought I had misunderstood her. What do you mean she needed a vacation? Mom sighed. Not nervously, not apologetically. She sounded tired, like I was forcing her to explain something obvious to a child. Lauren has been under a lot of pressure. You know that. She and the girls have had a difficult year. The resort package was discounted, but they needed the money quickly. Your car was just sitting there most of the day anyway. I looked around the parking lot. The afternoon shift was arriving. 2 housekeepers waved at me as they walked toward the service entrance. A bellman rolled down his window and asked if everything was okay. I lifted one hand and nodded. I was the hotel manager. I spent every day solving problems without letting guests see the panic behind the curtain. Broken elevators, overbooked rooms, wedding parties arriving 3 hours early, employees calling in sick during holiday weekends. I knew how to keep my face calm, but my voice came out quieter than usual. You sold my car while I was working? It was technically still in my name, Mom said. You never finished the title transfer after I helped you buy it. So please don't make this dramatic. That car was a 7-year-old Toyota Camry. Nothing luxurious, nothing impressive. But I had paid for every oil change, every tire, every repair. I had driven it through snowstorms to cover overnight shifts. I had slept in it twice during the first year I worked at the hotel because I could not afford both rent and the emergency money my parents claimed they needed. The car was not just transportation. It was one of the few things in my life that had never asked me for anything. Where is it? I asked. Gone. The buyer already picked it up. And Lauren? She leaves on Friday. Florida. The girls are excited. I said nothing. Mom waited for me to yell. I could hear it in the silence between us. She had prepared herself for the argument. She probably had a speech ready about family, sacrifice, and how I was single and therefore had fewer responsibilities. Instead, I walked back into my office. I opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account. For 6 years, on the first day of every month, I had transferred $2,800 to my parents. It started when Dad hurt his back and could not work full-time. Then the rent increased. Then Lauren needed help after her divorce. Then my nieces needed school clothes. Then Mom said groceries were becoming impossible. There was always a reason. There was always an emergency. There was always a promise that the next month would be different. I clicked on the recurring transfer. Cancel future payments? I clicked yes. At 9:03 the next morning, my phone rang while I was checking the breakfast buffet. The caller ID showed the name of my parents' landlord. Douglas? Mr. Alvarez said carefully. I'm sorry to bother you at work, but the rent check your mother gave me bounced. She said you would handle it. I stared at the fresh fruit display while a server replaced a tray of pastries. No, I said. I won't. By 9:17, my mother had texted me 11 times. By noon, 34 times. By the time I finished my shift, there were 77 messages. I read every one. Then I did something my family never expected. I saved them all. The first message said, Douglas, call me immediately. This is not funny. The 5th said, your father is having chest pains because of you. The 12th, Lauren already booked everything. Do you want your nieces to remember that their uncle ruined their first real vacation? The 29th, you have always been selfish when anyone else is happy. The 43rd, we raised you. You owe us more than a used car and a monthly payment. The 77th arrived at 6:41 p.m. If you abandon us now, don't bother calling yourself my son. I read that one twice. Then I forwarded the entire thread to a private email address I had created years earlier and named Receipts. That folder already contained more than I wanted to admit. 6 years of transfers, screenshots of the family group chat, photos of checks, copies of utility bills I had paid, a spreadsheet I started 3 years ago after realizing that my parents' temporary crisis had lasted longer than some marriages. The numbers were worse than I expected. $2,800 per month for 6 years was $201,600. That did not include Lauren's car repair, my father's dental work, the emergency furnace replacement, my niece's summer camp, the security deposit when my parents moved into their townhouse, the credit card payment Mom begged me to cover because she said the electricity was about to be disconnected. I had never added everything together before. I told myself I was helping. The truth was uglier. I had trained them to believe that my life existed to protect theirs from consequences. My father did not even bother disguising it. When I was 29 and had just been promoted from night auditor to assistant manager, he launched during Sunday dinner and said, "So you're basically the guy people scream at when their towels are dirty." Lauren laughed so hard she snorted into her drink. Mom gave Dad a warning look, but she was smiling too. When I became operations manager, Dad asked if I finally got to wear one of those little bellboy hats. When I became hotel manager, Lauren posted a picture of me in my suit at a charity event and wrote, "My brother finally found a job where pretending to care is a skill." It received 32 laughing reactions, mostly from cousins. I saw it during a 14-hour shift while coordinating rooms for families displaced by an apartment fire. I did not respond. I rarely responded. That was my role in the family. I absorbed things. I fixed things. I sent money. I stayed calm. Lauren was different. Lauren was 3 years younger than me and had spent her entire life treating responsibility like an optional subscription she could cancel whenever it became inconvenient. After her divorce, she moved into my parents' townhouse with her 2 daughters. I helped because the girls were 8 and 10, and none of this was their fault. At least that was what I told myself. The first year, Lauren called me crying because her car needed repairs. I paid $1,900. 3 months later, she posted photos from a weekend in Nashville. The following summer, Mom said Lauren could not afford school supplies. I sent $600. 2 days later, Lauren uploaded a video of herself unboxing a designer handbag. When I asked Mom about it, she said, "She bought it secondhand, Douglas. Don't be petty." I became the villain every time I noticed the pattern. The day after Mom sold my car, Lauren posted a Facebook photo from a nail salon. Her nails were painted glossy white, and a tropical cocktail sat beside her hand. The caption read, "Some people complain about helping family. Some people understand that memories matter more than objects. Counting down to sunshine with my girls." She did not use my name. She did not need to. My aunt commented with a heart. One cousin wrote, "You deserve it after everything you've survived." Another added, "Some people forget where they came from." I took screenshots. That evening, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. His message started with the low, measured voice he used when he wanted to sound reasonable. "Douglas, this has gone far enough. Your mother made a decision for the family. You may not agree with it, but you will respect it. You are not married. You do not have children. You have a stable job. Lauren has 2 girls depending on her." Then his voice changed. "You canceling that transfer without warning was childish. Fix it before you embarrass us further." I saved the voicemail. On Friday, the day Lauren was supposed to leave for Florida, Mom called the hotel front desk, not my personal phone. The hotel. I was in the lobby speaking with a couple whose reservation had been entered for the wrong weekend when Jenna, our front desk supervisor, approached me with a strained expression. "Douglas, your mother is online too. She says it is urgent." I excused myself and stepped into the back office. Mom was crying before I said hello. "Lauren's card was declined at the airport." I closed my eyes. "Why are you calling my workplace?" "Because you won't answer your phone. She needs $4,300. The hotel put a hold on her card, and there are baggage fees, and she needs spending money for the girls." "No." The crying stopped instantly. "Excuse me?" "No." "Douglas, they are standing in an airport. I am standing at work. She has children with her. She chose to take them on a vacation she could not afford using money from a car that did not belong to her." Mom inhaled sharply. "It belonged to me legally. That makes what you did possible. It does not make it right." Her voice turned cold. "You always do this. You wait until people are vulnerable, then you punish them." That sentence hit me harder than the car. Not because it was true, because it was exactly backward. For 6 years, they had waited until I was exhausted, guilty, or afraid of being called selfish. They knew I would pay. They knew I would fix it. They knew I would work an extra weekend and pretend I did not mind. "I am not sending money," I said. Mom lowered her voice. "You will regret this when your father and I are homeless." I looked through the glass wall of my office at the lobby. A little boy was dragging a stuffed dinosaur across the carpet while his mother checked in. A business traveler was arguing politely with the concierge about a taxi. Everything continued moving. For the first time, their emergency did not feel like mine. "Then you should speak to your landlord," I said. I hung up. The public humiliation started that night. Dad posted on Facebook, "It is heartbreaking when a son becomes successful and forgets the parents who sacrificed everything for him. We never asked for luxury, only compassion. Some people value a car more than family." Lauren shared it with a longer message. She claimed I had promised to pay for the trip and changed my mind at the airport because I was jealous that she had children and I did not. She said I had threatened to leave my parents homeless. She said I had always resented her daughters. That last part made my hands shake. I loved those girls. I had attended school plays when Lauren forgot. I had driven through a snowstorm to bring medicine when one of them had the flu. I had paid for braces without telling anyone because Lauren started crying when she saw the estimate. But the lie spread because it was simple. Douglas had money. Douglas was angry about an old car. Douglas punished 2 innocent children. My phone filled with messages from relatives. Most of them did not ask what happened. They told me what happened. My uncle wrote, "Be a man. Restore the transfer." A cousin sent, "Imagine making your own mother beg for rent money." My aunt left a voicemail saying, "Your nieces will remember this forever." I saved everything. Then, on Sunday morning, I received a message from someone I had not spoken to in almost a year. Lauren's ex-husband, Eric. I saw the posts. "Call me before you give them another $1. There is something you need to hear." We met in a coffee shop near the hotel. Eric looked older than I remembered. Tired. Careful. He placed his phone on the table. "Lauren left this on my voicemail 3 weeks ago," he said. "I kept it because I thought I might need it for custody court." He pressed play. Lauren's voice filled the space between us. "Mom says Douglas will cover the vacation once we sell the Camry. He always acts wounded for a few days, but he caves. Dad says guilt works better if we mention the girls. Honestly, it's perfect because he's at the hotel all day. By the time he notices, the car will be gone." There was laughter in the background. My mother's laughter. Then Dad's voice, faint but clear. "He needs to remember his place." Eric stopped the recording. For a moment, neither of us spoke. My coffee had gone cold. "Why are you giving me this?" I asked. "Because they used the girls as props during our divorce too," he said. "And because Lauren told me she needed the trip to recover from being a single mother. Meanwhile, I've been paying child support and taking the girls every weekend she allows it." He slid a flash drive across the table. "There's more. Screenshots, emails, vacation receipts. She booked the resort 2 months ago. This was not an emergency." I stared at the flash drive. The car sale had not been impulsive. It had been planned. That afternoon, I opened the old external hard drive in my home office. It was where I stored years of scanned documents, hotel paperwork, tax records, and copies of every bill I had paid for my family. I made a new folder. I named it 6 years. Inside, I saved the bank transfers, the texts, the Facebook posts, Dad's voicemail, Eric's recording, the resort invoice, and the bill of sale for my car. The buyer's name caught my attention. I recognized it. It was the owner of a small used car lot 3 blocks from my parents' townhouse. On Monday morning, I visited him before work. He remembered the sale immediately. "Your mother said you were moving overseas," he told me. "Said you told her to handle it because you were too busy." I showed him my employee badge and my work schedule. "I am not moving overseas." His face changed. He opened a drawer and pulled out a photocopy of the paperwork. Attached to it was a handwritten note from my mother. "Need payment issued quickly. Daughter's vacation deposit due Wednesday." The dealer rubbed his forehead. "I'm sorry, man. Her name was on the title. Everything checked out legally." "I know," I said. That was the worst part. My mother had found the narrow space between legal and cruel, and she had walked through it without hesitation. I asked for a copy of the paperwork. Then I went to work. My father demanded a family meeting the following Saturday. Not at my apartment, not somewhere neutral, at my parents' townhouse. His message said, "Come at 6. Bring your laptop. We are fixing this privately before your behavior tears the family apart." I almost ignored it. Then I saw Lauren's newest post. It was a photo of my nieces sitting beside 2 unpacked suitcases. Lauren wrote, "They still don't understand why someone they trusted would punish them." That was enough. I arrived at 5:55 with my laptop bag and the hard drive. The townhouse looked different when I stepped inside. Not smaller, just less sacred. For years, I treated that place like a fragile structure I was personally responsible for holding up. I had paid the rent, the internet, the electricity, the deposit, the late fee when Lauren forgot to transfer her portion. Now the living room looked like what it actually was. A room full of adults waiting for me to resume my duties. Dad sat in his recliner with both hands on the armrests. Mom perched on the edge of the sofa. Lauren stood near the fireplace, arms folded. My aunt, uncle, and 2 cousins were there too. An audience. Of course there was an audience. Dad spoke first. "You have humiliated this family publicly." I almost laughed. "I have not posted anything." "Your silence is a statement," Lauren snapped. "You are letting people attack me." "People are attacking you?" "I had to cancel the vacation. Do you understand what that did to the girls?" I set my laptop on the dining table. "I understand exactly what happened." Mom's expression tightened. "Douglas, we all make mistakes. Your father and I are willing to move past your outburst if you restore the transfer tonight." There it was. Not an apology, not even an explanation. A payment deadline. Dad leaned forward. You have a responsibility. I looked at him. No, I had a habit. Lauren rolled her eyes. Oh my God, are we seriously doing this over a used car? No, I said. We are doing this because you sold something I relied on to buy a vacation you could not afford. Then you lied about it. Then you used your daughters to make me look cruel when I stopped paying for the privilege of being insulted. My aunt opened her mouth, but I raised one hand. I brought something. I connected my laptop to the television. The first image appeared on the screen. A spreadsheet. 6 years of monthly transfers. $201,600. Then the additional expenses. Lauren's repairs, Dad's dental bill, the furnace, the rent deposit, school supplies, camp fees, braces, credit card payments, utilities. The total was $247,380. The room went silent. My cousin shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Dad scoffed. So now you are keeping score? No, I said. I started keeping records because none of you were telling the truth. I clicked again. Lauren's Facebook post appeared on the television. Then Dad's. Then the family chat messages. Then Mom's 77 texts. Lauren crossed the room quickly. Turn that off. I did not move. The next file was the bill of sale for my car. Attached was Mom's handwritten note. Daughter's vacation deposit due Wednesday. My mother's face drained of color. Dad stood. You came here to shame your mother? No. I came here because you invited witnesses. Then I opened the audio file. Lauren's voice filled the room. Mom says Douglas will cover the vacation once we sell the Camry. He always acts wounded for a few days, but he caves. Dad says guilt works better if we mention the girls. No one moved. Then came my mother's laughter. Then Dad's voice. He needs to remember his place. Dad lunged toward the television remote, but my uncle picked it up first. Sit down, he said. It was the first time anyone in my family had spoken to my father that way. Lauren's face twisted. Eric recorded me without permission. He is obsessed with ruining my life. He is outside, I said. Her head snapped toward me. What? I opened the front door. Eric stood on the porch holding a folder. Beside him was Mr. Alvarez, my parents' landlord. Dad's face changed instantly. Not anger, fear. Mr. Alvarez stepped inside and handed my mother an envelope. This is the formal notice, he said. I have been patient because Douglas always paid, but the lease is in your names, not his. You have 14 days to bring the account current or arrange a payment plan. Mom stared at the envelope as if it had personally betrayed her. Eric walked into the living room. Lauren pointed at him. You have no right to be here. I have every right to defend our daughters when you use them to manipulate people, he said. He opened the folder and removed printed copies of the resort booking, the flight confirmations, and messages Lauren sent him 2 months earlier. One of them read, Mom has a plan to get Douglas to cover most of it. Worst case, she sells the car. It is still technically hers. My aunt covered her mouth. My cousins stopped looking at me. They looked at Lauren. For the first time, she had no audience left. Dad raised his voice. This is family business. No, I said. It stopped being family business when you posted lies about me online. I unplugged the hard drive and placed it on the table. That contains copies of everything. Bank records, screenshots, the audio, the sale paperwork, every message. Mom started crying. Real tears this time. Douglas, please. We were desperate. For a vacation? It was not just the vacation. Then what was it? She looked at Dad. He looked away. Lauren sank onto the sofa. The truth came out slowly. Dad had fallen behind on several credit card payments. Lauren owed money on 2 personal loans. The rent check had bounced because Mom assumed my monthly transfer would arrive as usual and used the remaining money for the vacation deposit. They were not surviving because of my help. They were spending as if my help had no limit. Dad finally looked at me. Fine. We made a mistake. Restore the transfer for 3 months. Give us time to recover. I stared at him. Even after the audio, even after the public lies, even after selling my car, he still thought this was a negotiation. No. His face hardened. Do not walk out on your mother. I am not walking out on anyone. I am leaving a job I was never hired for. Mom whispered, You would really let us lose this place? I picked up my laptop bag. I paid your rent for 6 years. That was generosity. You turned it into an entitlement. Those are not the same thing. Lauren stood up. What about the girls? I looked at Eric. The girls have a father, one who has already told me they can stay with him whenever necessary. Eric nodded. Lauren started shouting at him. Dad shouted at me. Mom begged everyone to stop. My aunt sat frozen on the edge of the chair, staring at the spreadsheet still displayed on the television. I walked to the door. Dad yelled after me. You will regret treating your own family like strangers. I turned around one last time. You sold my car while I was at work and used the money for a vacation. Then you told me I owed you more. I looked at each of them. You made us strangers. I am just updating the paperwork. Then I left. The next week was ugly. Mom sent another 46 messages. Dad called the hotel twice and demanded to speak to my regional director. He claimed I was unstable and neglecting family obligations. My regional director listened politely, then asked me if I wanted the calls documented as harassment. I said yes. Lauren posted a long Facebook message accusing me of using money to control women and children. She wrote that I had weaponized private family struggles because I could not handle seeing her happy. This time I responded, not emotionally, not with insults. I posted a single statement. For 6 years, I voluntarily sent my parents $2,800 every month. I also paid additional family expenses when asked. Last week, a vehicle I use daily was sold without my knowledge to fund a vacation. When I stopped the monthly transfer, several false claims were posted about me. I will not argue publicly. Attached are the relevant records. I am ending all financial support permanently. Please do not contact my workplace. I attached 4 screenshots, the transfer history, the car sale paperwork, Mom's handwritten note about the vacation deposit, Lauren's message saying Mom had a plan to make me pay. I did not post the audio. I did not post the messages about my nieces. I kept some things private because the girls deserved privacy. Even if their mother did not understand the concept, the reaction changed within hours. Relatives deleted their comments. My aunt called and apologized. One cousin messaged, I should have asked you what happened before judging you. I'm sorry. I replied, you should have. Nothing more. Mr. Alvarez gave my parents a payment plan, but he required them to sign it personally. Dad sold his truck. Mom picked up part-time work at a medical office. Lauren moved into a smaller apartment after Eric adjusted the custody arrangement and took the girls more often. For the first time, their lives reflected their choices. I did not celebrate. I just stopped interfering. The car dealer called me a few days after the family meeting. The Camry had not sold again yet. The buyer had traded it back after learning there might be a dispute. The dealer offered it to me for the amount he paid minus his fee. I almost bought it. Then I realized I did not want it anymore. That car had carried me through years of exhaustion, but I was allowed to move forward. I bought a reliable used hybrid in my own name. Every document went into my own lockbox. Every key stayed with me. At work, something shifted too. I had spent years volunteering for extra shifts because I needed the overtime after sending money home. Once the transfers stopped, I had room to breathe. I enrolled in an executive hospitality program I had postponed 3 times. 6 months later, I accepted a position as general manager of a boutique hotel downtown. It was smaller than the chain property I'd managed before, but it was mine to shape. I hired carefully. I improved staff scheduling. I created an emergency fund for employees dealing with sudden housing problems. Not because I wanted to rescue everyone, because I finally understood the difference between helping people and becoming their permanent escape route. The strangest message came from Mom almost a year later. It was only 4 sentences. We are doing better. Your father still does not understand why you cut us off. I think part of me does. I am sorry for selling the car. I am sorry I let you believe love had to be earned through payments. I read it 3 times. Then I saved it in the folder. I did not reply. An apology does not always reopen a door. Sometimes it simply confirms why you closed it. A year after the car was sold, I changed my phone number. Not because the calls were constant anymore. They were not. That was the surprising part. Once my family realized the money was not coming back, the outrage faded. The guilt messages became less frequent. The emergencies somehow became solvable without me. Dad never apologized. Lauren never admitted what she did. She still posted vague quotes about betrayal and toxic people, but I stopped checking. The girls stayed with Eric most weekends. I sent them birthday cards through him, never through Lauren. I did not want them caught in the middle. But I also refused to let their names become keys that opened my bank account. My life became quieter. I started sleeping through the night. I stopped feeling panic every time my phone rang. I took my first real vacation in 8 years. 3 days near the coast. No laptop, no emergency transfers, no one asking me to fix a crisis from a hotel lobby. On the second morning, I sat outside a small cafe with coffee and watched the ocean. For years, I believed being useful was the same as being loved. It was not. I was not guilty because people used me, but I was responsible for what happened after I finally saw it clearly. I could keep volunteering for the role they had written for me, or I could leave the stage. When I returned home, I made one final transfer. Not to my parents, not to Lauren. I donated $2,800, the exact amount I used to send every month to a local organization that helped hospitality workers cover emergency transportation costs after breakdowns or accidents. The confirmation email arrived while I was sitting in my new car outside my hotel. I smiled when I saw the amount. For 6 years, that number had represented fear. Now it meant something else. A choice, a boundary, a life that finally belonged to me. Top of form, bottom of form.